Then, once you've clicked on Add Trend Lines, you'll get this dialog box. Here, I want to make sure that the darkened box is the one above linear. That's the one we want. We want linear to be the one that's got a check mark by it. Or I mean, to be the one that's darkened. Because we're doing a linear regression. Notice it can do logarithmic, polynomial, it can do power, exponential, or moving averages. It can do a lot of different things, but we'll just want to do linear. Once we've clicked on linear, then we're going to click on the tab that says Options. Do you see the tab that says Options? I've got a red arrow pointing to it. We'll click on that, and that'll bring us to this dialog box. And here, all I want us to do is put a check mark next to Display Equation on Chart and Display R² value on chart. Those are the two bottom items in this dialog box. We're putting check marks there. Then once those are checked, then we'll click OK. And we'll have our regression line. And not only do we have a regression line, we also have some equations. Oh, those equations are hard to read because they're right on the line. Let's change those. The way we can move those away from the line is we can click on the equations, and once we click on the equations, we should get this box going around the equation. Now the box has little squares in the corners. We're going to want, when I'm saying the box, I really mean that rectangle with the lined, gray lined rectangle that's going around the entire equation. I want you to click on the edge of that the rectangle, but not on one of the square boxes. When you put your cursor on the rectangle line, it should turn into a four-arrowed kind of cursor. When it's like that, you can click on it, and then you can move it to a better location. Here, I've moved mine over to down away from the line a little bit. So that'll make it easier to see. Now let's see what this says. This says our equation for a line is y equals 4.0748x plus 0.0513. Well, that should be what we got. Actually, we'll check that in a minute, except our equation was backwards. Our equation said y equals 0.0513 plus 4.0748x. But in addition, the order doesn't matter. 4 plus 7 is the same as 7 plus 4. So don't be distraught by the change in order for the addition there. Underneath that, it says our R squared is 0.3532. Let's go click on sheet 1 at the bottom and see what R says. So I'll go down here and click on sheet 1, and this is our data and our answers. And yes, for R squared, we did get 0.3532. Once we round it to 4 decimals, it would be 0.3532 for our R squared. So our answer does match theirs. Our equation for the line was y equals 0.0513 plus 4.0748x, which is the same as theirs, just in a different order. Let me go back and click on the tab to get back to our chart. Okay. Now, do you see how on this page the chart has a gray kind of background? And that looks good on the screen, but if you print that out on some printers, it won't look good at all. So I'm going to try and get rid of that. The way I'm going to get rid of it is on the very far right edge of the gray, but not where there's any horizontal lines. Just where the gray edge meets the white edge. Do you see where I'm putting my cursor? My cursor is the white arrow. I've got the red arrow pointing to it because the white arrow is kind of small. But I'm going to click right on that line, and then it'll select it. And then I'll press delete, and the gray's all gone. Now there's some other things that I want to do to make this a prettier graph, because it's an accurate graph right now, but it's not very pretty. Partly, I don't think the numbers on the axes are large enough. They seem to be pretty small. So I'm going to make those bigger. So I'm going to go over to the y-axis, and I'll click on it. See where my cursor is. I'm pointing at it with a red arrow, but my cursor is a little white arrow. So I'll click right on that line, and then I'm going to double click that line, and when I do, I'll get this dialog box. You can double click on almost any item on this graph and change the way it looks. Here it says patterns, and I could change the way the tick marks look, or I could change the way the line looks. In this case, I'm happy with the thin line. I could make it thicker if I wanted to. I could make the line, the axis line itself, a different color or a heavier color. But I'm happy with the way it is. The next one is scale. That says what's the number. See, my y-axis starts at 0 and goes up to 4. I could change that. I could make it go up to 8, make it go up to 5,000 if I wanted to. The major units is I've got a break every half point, so it's a 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2. If I change this so that my major unit was 1, it would only say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I were to change it so it was 0.25, I'd go 0, 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, that kind of thing. Anyway, I'm not going to change any of these either, but I do want to change the font. So I'm going to click on the next tab, which is the font tab, and I'll see this. It tells me that my numbers are Arial, they're in irregular, they're not bold or italic, and the size is 10, but 10 is a pretty small size. So I'm going to change that 10 to maybe 16. So here, I'll change it to 16. That'll make all the numbers bigger. Notice I could change the color of the numbers or the background on the numbers. I'm not going to do any of that. I'll just say OK and see what happens. There, the numbers on the left are bigger, and they do look better. Now, I can even change the way the dots look. Do you see each of these dots? Well, they're really diamonds here. But I could change the way they look by just double-clicking on any one of them. So I'll double-click on one of those dots, and I get this dialog box. Now, it says on the left side, it says line, and I don't have a line connecting the dots. So I've got none, and I'm going to leave that at none because I don't want lines connecting each dot. But I'll go over to the right side, and the marker is automatic. And it says I can change the style, the foreground, the background, the size. I think I'm going to change all of those. So let me change those. I'm changing the style to this little box with an X in it. I'll change the color of the X in it to a dark red, and the background, the X, to a pink. And I'm going to double its size to size 10. And then I'll click OK and see what that looks like. There, that looks different. I don't think I like it. I think I'd rather have circles. Well, I'm going to double click on things here for a minute and just change things and show you what it could look like. Yeah, I could make it look like that eventually. By clicking on the x-axis, I could click on the formulas, give them a bigger print. So that's the way I think I'm going to have my graph look. And that's how you do graphing using Excel. That's how you do a scatter plot with a regression line that even has our answers to it. So thank you very much.